Grant in Houtby, you want to take us back to the BE conversation. Is it still necessary? Is it still viable? Good morning.
Hi there, Lester. You know, if you look at this whole contentious issue, on CapeTalk, I heard a discussion where apparently 885 million rand is lost to the fiscus every day of the year, which amounts to around about 330 billion rands per annum, which is $17 billion. If that was not lost to corruption and put to work in the fiscus, where would we be? Would we need BEE? Just a question for you. Let me have your answer over there. I'm cutting off now.
I'd like you to respond as well. Of course, we wouldn't need if we invested our resources properly into all areas of our economy, particularly to create jobs, we wouldn't necessarily need special dispensations. But the reality is, we need it now. But their grant has gone. I don't know. Grant, I'd like to ruminate with things with you. Okay, let's go to another voice note.
Good morning, Lester. Lester, I'd just like to disagree on your analogy about, BEE and, me as a person of color, was marginalized, in the apartheid era. And, I still feel marginalized, in the post-apartheid era. I feel that all race-based laws and rules and regulations should be set aside and we should be seen as South Africans and deployed and employed as South Africans. And, not go back to the past, man, where, sort of apartheid laws was in place, man. I just feel, it's going to take very long for our society to change and be a normal society if we base, our selection processes and placement processes on a racial basis, man. Thank you very much, Lester. Have a good morning, Clifford.
Let me move the needle to open this conversation and say employment equity is not just about race, it's also about gender. We have 51% of our population in this country as women. Does that mean our jobs spaces should represent the gender dynamics in South Africa? And if it doesn't, what do we do to rectify that? If we want to take it away from race, let's talk about gender. Employment equity also looks at gender. It also looks at disability. It gives access to people with disabilities into a fair crack into the workspace. Are our workspaces representing the demographic of disabled people in South Africa? Nicola in Panorama.
Hi, Lester. How are you?
Good, thank you.
That's good. So my first view is that on the BE topic is that it's putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound, because what it's doing is it's essentially forcing a workplace to represent certain, demographics, whether it's race, gender, what have you. And while I don't disagree with that, putting a quota in place is not going to help. I personally, as a woman, think that it's an insult to women because it essentially says that you can't do it on your own. You need special treatment. And from that sense, in my view, it's an insult. The second thing that I have to say is everyone is, all about equal representation of women. Mm-hmm. But the spaces that they are fighting for is in boardrooms. Mm. You don't hear, and I'm speaking as a woman, you don't hear the feminists speaking about equal representation in mind. You don't, hear about women speaking for equal representation when it comes to, garbage collection and things like that. So it's very easy to, sort of argue for this. But in my view, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And if you are not fighting for equal representation on all fronts, if you're only fighting for the cushy jobs, the nice aircon boardrooms and things like that, your fight is disingenuous because you're not asking for equal representation. You're asking for equal representation in certain circumstances.
Okay, I like this stream because this is often used in those Jordan Peterson-esque podcasts about why don't we see women bricklayers. It's because have those spaces traditionally been open to women? Is there a gender block, even in our brains, that says women can't be bricklayers? Is there a gendered gap in our minds that says men can't be daycare teachers? Let's talk about that quick. Is there a gendered gap? Is there a construct that is put in our heads before you even decide what you study for school or what you're gonna do that says you're a girl, you can't be a bricklayer. You're a boy, you can't be a daycare teacher.
I definitely agree that a lot of it is based on social construct. But the thing is that trying to push quotas isn't helping. What you need to do is you need to start at grassroots level, and you need to. Transformation, in my view, needs to happen organically.
Okay, so that's the next question. That's the next question. Yeah. Can systems, and I don't know what profession you're in, can systems govern and regulate themselves? Or do they need some form of external intervention, and in this case, coming from the state?
So, in my view, I'm in the legal profession.
Yes.
So, it's typically, traditionally, in the olden days, it's typically an old boys club,
And what changed that? What changed it from being an old boys club?
So, I suppose people fighting for more representation of women in the legal
And
fraternity.
that is an external pressure on a system to change. Is that not correct?
Yes, it is. And I don't disagree with that. But setting a quota to get a certain number of females or, people of color into a certain profession without putting equal effort into training those people to be capable of doing that job is an exercise in futility, because all that's going to happen is that you're pushing for a quota. It's like if you change the definition of something. If you say a part is 50%, and suddenly it's changed to 33%.
But currently,
that more people have passed.
You are a lawyer.
Hasn't changed.
You are a lawyer. In which legislation is there the word quota? There's the word target, which is different to a quota, but where's the word quota? Because a quota is quite rigid. A target is moving, and if you were to look at employment equity laws, they talks about targets, which does say, if you've gone through a process to look for the best candidate and you can't find them, yes, then you can look elsewhere, because that's what a target is. Is there the word quota in any of the legislation?
I'm not in sort of that sort of field, so I can't tell you. But in my view, targets and quota in terms of public view and
that's public semantics.
Are seen as synonymous.
Okay, Nicola, we have to leave it there. Let me go to Jonathan. Really appreciate the call, Jonathan. Good morning. How are you?
Hey there, Lester. Lester, no, I just want to say, I've been obviously following the Trump thing and everything. With regards to BEE, I think we should separate the employment aspect from the free market economy aspect, i.e. foreign investment needing BEE partners and so forth. We know traditionally the BEE partnerships with foreign investors, only a few have benefited from that, right? There's no widespread benefit from that particularly, and that's been proven over and over the past 30 years. We in a country that desperately need economic activity, we desperately need investment. And that kind of laws at the moment is interfering with our objectives of moving the country forward and getting that foreign investment. It's no use you go out there and you drive to the world, come and invest in South Africa, but now you're stifled by that particular law, right? So, and that should be separated from the employment aspect of it. The other thing is from the gentleman before the last lady. You know, I'm a person of color. I grew up through apartheid. I'm a so-called colored. My wife is Indian. When my son went to school, they asked me to put a tick box for what is he classified as. Well, he's not classified as anything. He's South African. He's in the new South Africa. And the more we get along the lines of our progression post-apartheid and so forth, there's so much mixing going on in South Africa and so forth that those definitions simply in a few more years will not apply. Take a white person and a black person having a child. That child is not colored. That child is
mixed.
Pure South African,
yes, mixed South African,
but with a culture of black and white, right? Not with a traditional baggage. And so pretty soon we're going to find that construct is going to start breaking down.
Yeah, I also know very quickly, and Jonathan, really appreciate the call. I also know of the situation of a young black African man, who has grown up in a particular privilege. His mother's white. Who's grown up into a particular privilege, who feels uncomfortable accessing, for example, certain grants and benefits because he has grown up in a privileged background. I similarly know someone who is the child of a colored woman and a white man. She presents as white if you were to pass in the street. And she has not grown up in any form of direct financial privilege. So I know of two examples where young people are confused. One feeling guilty of having access to the benefits, but growing up privileged. The one confused because she has a black mum, but a white dad, generally would present as white, but she does not have that access of direct financial privilege. Let's talk more about this. 021-446-0567. Calvin in Paul, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Lester.
Yes, sir.
The previous lady that was speaking about quotas, I think you really got it spot on. You know, we've got a problem with people that, they deny. The reality of the matter is that the struggle that we fought for in the 80s was not just for race, but it was also for gender and disability. And this lady is one of those beneficiaries. If you look at the previous 1994 era, you didn't find white women in boardrooms. Why? Because the white safari-dressed men were in governance. So, you know, they distort facts. If we had a quota-based employment equity system in South Africa, the racial demographics would not have looked the way it is now.
Yeah.
It is, as you pointed out, you were very gentle with, I must say. It's target-based. And still, they're still not doing it. So the reason is, I mean, it's stomach revolting. I was actually so disappointed, you know, that people are actually prepared to go on the radio and talk about quotas. And then, you know, they sound like academics. It's not a quota-based system. It's target-based. And, you know, still companies are still trying to get away from it because they don't want to transform. You know, and take, for example, these white crosses. The majority of people on farms that are killed are black workers. And they don't talk about that. It's because we focused on race. So, you know, the sooner people realize that if we don't change this, we are going to have a revolution in this country. We had a struggle where there was a conciliation, we agreed we're going to try and fix this together, but, people just don't want to. And I really want to compliment you. You were very diplomatic about pointing out that it's not quota-based, employment equity target-based. So
Calvin
I
Paul,
just want to say,
really appreciate the call, but I appreciate other views
Yeah.
as well. But really, thank you so much, Calvin M. Paul.